Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell by the title, this video is going to be just a really fun sit down talk with me about fall recommendations and kind of things that are on my fall TBR or on my fall radar this year. I just always watch these videos every year and I feel like they're so helpful because then you can kind of get ideas of what you want to read or similar books to what you maybe have already read that you really enjoy. So I'm going to go through all the books that I have read that I would recommend for fall, or books that I've read in fall in the past and they have just hit, and then all the books that are kind of on my radar this fall and things I'm hoping to get to this year. If you want to just kind of sit down, relax, light a candle, grab a little fall drink. I really wanted to go and get like a pumpkin drink from somewhere, but I didn't really want to leave my house. I have a little matcha with some honey and brown sugar. So I think I'm going to start with the books that I have already read, and then I'll go into the books that I kind of want to read this year. And I kind of separated them into thrillers, fantasy, and romance or literary fiction. I will tell you that I don't have very many romance or literary fiction books on either of these stacks because I really don't know if I've really found any that fit the fall vibes. I feel like romance and literary fiction are so good for summer that I have a hard time finding ones that feel more cozy and more fall. So if you have any recommendations for literary fiction or romance, I would love to hear them because mine are very minimal, and if I have them on here, they're probably really cheesy. Start with the books I have read, and I'm gonna start with thrillers. I think thrillers are always some of my favorite books to read during the fall for obvious reasons, especially leading up to October. I feel like anything like September and October are the fun times to read thrillers, and then you can kind of read more of the other stuff around like November. But I love thrillers. I have read more thrillers than I've read anything else. Those are the books that kind of got me into reading because I really like fast-paced books. So I'm just going to share with you 3 of my favorite thrillers I've read. I've read so many and I've loved a lot of them, but these are probably my top 3 favorite thrillers, and they always feel so spooky to me, especially during fall. So the first one I'm going to recommend is one I actually read this year. I just barely read it last month, and I kind of wish I saved it for fall, but this one was so good. I read it in like a day. It was so fast-paced, and I'm sure everyone's heard of this one, but this is Hidden Pictures by Jason Ricklack. This book was so creepy but so thrilling at the same time. I think this is technically classified as a horror. I would classify it more as thriller. It wasn't like, I don't know. I would classify it more as thriller. I really enjoyed this book though. Basically this is about a woman who goes and nannies for a little boy. She doesn't know anything about the family. It was like a referral from one of her friends, and she goes and nannies this little boy, and he's like the sweetest little boy, but he really likes to draw pictures, and his pictures turn out to be like really cute, like bunnies, him and his nanny or whatever, and then he starts drawing pictures of like this really creepy woman that he describes as his imaginary friend. And you can already tell just from that this is gonna be creepy. And so yeah, so the pictures he draws of his imaginary friend, and they start getting more and more in detail. I don't want to give too much away because it is pretty crazy what happens in this book. I don't even, like, if you're gonna go into this book, I wouldn't even read the back of the book. I feel like the back of the book gives too much away. I feel like this one is really good to just go in blind. Another one, this one I read a couple years ago and I still cannot stop thinking about it. This book is so twisty. One of my favorite tropes in thrillers is unreliable narrator, and this takes that to a whole nother level. That is Alice Feeney's Rock, Paper, Scissors. Like I said, I read this one so long ago. Basically, this husband and wife are going on an anniversary trip, and the husband has facial blindness. So basically what that means is he can't recognize faces, but he can recognize like voices and stuff like that. But when he looks at you, it probably just kind of looks like scrambled eggs. I don't know, but he doesn't recognize faces. But him and his wife go up to this like snowy cabin, I think in Scotland, for their anniversary trip, and things start happening, and there's lying and there's sneakiness and there's just a lot of different things, and you don't know who to trust in this book. This one, again, really fast paced, really fun. I don't want to say too much. I definitely think this is a recommendation I will always recommend to anyone who's looking for a really good thriller. So next I have one romance and one literary fiction that I would recommend for the fall. That romance book being The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I read this in the summer, and this was one of my favorite books I've read all year. I thought this was so much fun, but I do feel like this is better read probably in the fall, just because it's kind of like magical realism. It takes place in, I think it takes place in New York City, and it just feels very cozy. Like, it's such a good story, but it feels very cozy, and like you just want to curl up and read it and get cozy, have a drink, light a candle. Like, that is just, when I think of like a fall romance, this is kind of what I think of. This is about a girl who inherits her aunt's apartment, and her aunt has always said that it was a magical apartment. It can take you 7 years in the future or 7 years in the past. She doesn't really believe her aunt, but when she inherits it, she moves into that apartment and she finds out that there is a man already living there, and of course she finds out he was in from 7 years in the past. Basically, they start to talk and they start to fall in love, but the problem is he is 7 years in the past and she is 7 years in the future. And being that it's only 7 years, he is still out there and he still exists. He's just older. So it's really interesting to kind of see their dynamic and the dynamic of her trying to find this man in real life and seeing their relationship and if he remembers her. So I still think about this quite often. I'd still rate it 6 stars. This is such a fun read. So next, for literary fiction, this book is, again, one of my favorite books I've read all year. I read this, I think, back in January, and it's quite short. It's a very quick read, but that is The Storied Life of A.J. Fckery. This book is so cute and sweet. It was so wholesome. Basically, this is about a man who owns a bookstore, and his bookstore isn't really doing very well, and he is just kind of a grumpy man. And basically, the love of his life is this, like, I think it's like first edition, special edition of these Edgar Allan Poe poems, and they are worth a lot of money, and that is kind of like his retirement and his way out, because he's just frustrated and he doesn't think he can run this bookstore anymore. Finds out his Edgar Allan Poe poems get stolen. That just turns it into a spiral. He's really upset. He's trying to find them, and then on top of that, he finds out there's another surprise in his bookstore that will change his life forever. I think this is such a good cozy read for the fall. I want to reread this fall because it is so short. You could really just knock it out. I promise you though, this book will make you cry. It'll make you feel things you didn't even know you could feel. Now, all the rest of the books I'm going to recommend you from what I have read are going to be fantasy. You probably have heard of some of these. You might have not. But these are like my fantasies that feel the most fall and cozy to me. And looking at the stack, I think a lot of these are probably very obvious. And that is Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, because the new one is coming out, I think, in January. So I feel like this is like the perfect time to reread them to get ready for that new release. These ones feel like, when I think of fall, I think fantasy, and this feels very fantasy and very cozy to me. I loved the first one. I absolutely loved it. Second one was okay. I feel like I would really like to kind of reread these just to give this one another chance, because I want to go into the third one really excited. If you've read it, you know, but I think these are so much fun for the fall. If you haven't read them, it's the perfect time to pick it up. If you've read it, maybe we should just all reread it together, because I'm really excited for the new release and I want to get even more excited. But yeah, pretty self-explanatory. I feel like everyone knows what this is about. I'm not going to go into too much detail. There's dragons. It's so much fun. So make sure to pick these up if you haven't, and then maybe we can do like a reread all together before the new release comes out. This next little duology is actually, I would say, I feel confident saying this. This is my favorite series I've ever read in my entire life, and I have read a lot of books, and that is One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. If there was a book with my exact taste to a T, page for page, feeling, vibes, this is literally me in a book. Like, I absolutely love this duology. I recommend this to everyone, and I know everyone's not gonna like it. This is my favorite series. I cannot stress this enough. If you like dark, eerie books, if you like magic, I don't even know, like spooky, this is perfect for you. I love this series, and again, I need to reread this. There's only two. There's only ever going to be two. It is completed, and usually that would make me sad because I just would like to stay in this world forever and be able to just read more and more. But I feel like the way she did it, it wraps up so perfect. Like, you are not wondering about anything. You're also not being dragged on a long quest where it just kind of drags, which I feel like some fantasy books do to make them longer. There's a lot of slow parts. I feel like this, there's no slow parts. You're entertained the entire time, especially in the second one. I read this book in a day. The magic system in this book too is just really fun. So it's basically about a woman who, they live again in like a village, a town, and it's set, I don't know what the time period is, but it's in the olden days. And there was this mist that had come and kind of taken over the town, and if you're in the mist too long, you develop an infection, and basically your veins turn black and you get magic. And this kind of all started because they have this shepherd king, and he created these cards. They're called the Providence cards, and there's 12 of them, I believe, and each card is a different magical power. And the person who who has the card has that power. There's like really rare ones. So let me try to explain this. There's cards where there's like 4 of one card. So 4 people can have that same power. And then there's like the really crazy card that there's only 1 card. And so there's different amounts of cards per different power, if that makes sense. There's 12 different powers, but some cards can have multiple. I don't know if that makes sense, but and then if you have one of each card, all 12 cards in your possession, you are like the most powerful. And also it is said that if you have all 12 cards, the mist will disappear and the infections will stop. Basically, the kingdom is scared of this infection because it's giving those who don't have cards power. And if the kingdom is the ones that holds the cards, they're the only ones with the power, which is obviously what they want. So basically they have these like, I don't know what they're called, but they're basically like priests who go and like execute those who have the infection, which is just crazy. It's really sad as well, but they just they're the only ones who want the power, and they're also searching to have all the cards. A lot of them have a lot of the really popular cards, but the ones that there's like 1 and 2s of are very hard to find, and people will pay a lot of money for them. And so the king specifically is trying to collect all the cards. And any cards that are found, he gives to those who serve him. There's so much that happens. There is a little bit of a romance in here as well. And oh, it's just so, so good. I love this book series. I can't get over this world and these characters and the system. I just think that that's such a cool creation. It's crazy that someone can come up with this world and everything in it. And it's beautiful. And I love it. The next series I have is this series. So this is the Belladonna series by Adeline Grace. I picked this up a couple years ago and I absolutely fell in love with it. I read Belladonna around the same time I read One Dark Window, and I feel like they're very similar, but this one's a little bit more YA. The best way to describe this book series is like Bridgerton meets Knives Out romance. It's got like that Bridgerton era. It's like ball gowns and all of that stuff, but then there's a little bit of like a murder mystery. It's about a woman who, she can't die. Death is a character in this book, and he kind of, it's weird. His relationship with her is weird because she can't die and he is drawn to death. Everyone around her who she stays with ends up dying. So like in the beginning, her mom dies, and then she has to move in with her aunt, and her aunt dies. Like anyone she stays with dies. She kind of goes through all of her relatives, and she has like one more relative left because she is still a minor and she can't inherit her inheritance until she's 18, and she has to go and live with all these people. So she ends up moving with her last uncle. I believe it's her last known relative. Goes and lives there just to find out that the wife of this uncle has just recently passed away, and it was really devastating. And now so the wife died from a sickness, and now the sickness is spread to the little girl, her cousin, and she is just kind of weirded out by this sickness that's going on. She thinks that it's actually someone that murdered the wife and is murdering the daughter, like poisoning them. So she is on like this quest to find out who is poisoning this daughter and who killed the mother. Basically, a lot goes on. Death is involved. There's this one, which is really fun, and then there's Foxglove, which is the second book, and then Wisteria, which has just come out and I'm actually currently in the middle of, and I absolutely love it. So this series is so much fun. I also think that the books are just so beautiful. But the fact that there is fantasy and there is mystery to it, I think it makes it perfect for fall. Like if you like the inheritance games, like that mysterious element of that, you would really like this, and then it has a little bit of that fantasy in it too. Next series I would recommend, again, I feel like everyone's heard about this, but I think it's really fun to talk about, and that is the Caraval series. I read this for the first time last fall and it was so much fun. I feel like it's the perfect setting to read these books. It is a trilogy, it's a YA trilogy about a magical carnival. Basically, there are two sisters who live, again, it's like takes place olden days, but there's these two sisters and one of the sisters goes missing, and there is this magical carnival that comes around every so often, and you only get invited if you have a ticket, and the sister goes missing in this carnival, and the other sister has to play all these games to try to find her sister. And there's this guy named Legend, and he basically is in charge of the carnival. He's the one that has the magic, he's the one that's creating everything, and nobody knows who he is, absolutely nobody. And she believes that Legend is the one that stole her sister. So it's really fun. They just go through, she goes through all these crazy adventures. I absolutely love how whimsical this feels and how fun. I definitely think the first one is my favorite, which is probably an unpopular opinion, but they're all fun. And then if you read this, then you can go in and read Once Upon a Broken Heart. A lot of people read them separately, but I think this is fun to read first, just because you get a little bit of character development in here that will pop up in Once Upon a Broken Heart. Absolutely love this series. I think it's a good one for fall too. Last book I'm going to recommend out of the books that I have read, that is The Crimson Moth, or Heartless Hunter. It has a couple different names. I think The Crimson Moth is like the series name, and the book is actually called Heartless Hunter. But this is about witches, and this again is like belladonna. It's kind of like Bridgerton, just like there's operas and balls and puffy dresses, and I love that kind of vibe. But it's also got witches. So there are witches in this world, and the witches are not really welcome. They do get executed if they're found. And they are there's these people called witch hunters, and they are trying to find the witches to get rid of them. So the main guy, Gideon, he's a witch hunter, and she is a witch, and her duty, or what she tries to do, is she tries to save witches, because I think it's only in this city that witches are banned and like not welcome. So her goal is to rescue witches and send them away so that they can live and they can survive. And she is known as the Crimson Moth, but nobody knows her true identity. They just refer to her as the Crimson Moth. And so Gideon, as a witch hunter, his biggest goal is to find the Crimson Moth and put an end to it, because she is saving all of the witches, and that's just not what they want. So he thinks that this main girl is a Crimson Moth, and so he tries to, I guess, romance her, because there's a lot of little signs to tell if you're a witch, and tries to get close to her, and she knows he's the witch hunter, and she tries to get close to him so she can find out where he's hiding other witches and how she can save other witches. So basically they both have agendas of why they're trying to get together, and they're both trying to play each other, but then they're also both falling in love at the same time. So it's very interesting. It's just like very much enemies to lovers, very much slow burn. Okay, so sorry we got interrupted. My SD card ran out of memory. I don't know how. Anyway, back to the video. I don't remember where I left off on this, but basically read it. I'm gonna just go over pretty quickly, because you guys are probably sick of hearing me talk by now, of the books that are on my radar for fall. The first two up here, let's see. So the first one on my radar is one I've heard a lot about. This one really intimidates me. So I really hope I can get to it, but I'm also really scared. So if you read it, convince me to read it, please. And that is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This one, I believe, is like dark academia, thriller vibes. I don't know anything about this book. I feel like it's so popular and it's talked about a lot, but I don't know anything about it. I think that someone gets murdered or something. That's all I know. And I kind of want to go into blind, but I also think that's why it's intimidating to me. So if you read this book and you can tell me more about it, please let me know. But this one, I've heard so much about, especially for like dark, eerie fall vibes. So that's why I picked it up. So this one's first on my list. Next is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. I've read a couple of Riley Sager's books by now, and I really enjoy them. This one, I believe it's like about a couple of 10-year-old boys who camp out in their backyard, and one of the boys ends up going missing and no one knows what happens to him. They don't know if he ran away, they don't know if he got taken, they don't know if he got killed, no one knows. And basically then it jumps years later and the other boy ends up coming back to this neighborhood as an adult, and things start happening and there's like reminders of his friend. It's very weird. I think it might be a little bit supernatural, which based on Riley Sager, that's not going to be shocking to me, but it sounds really good. I'm really excited to pick this one up. Those are the only two thrillers I have. I really haven't found a lot of thrillers that are interesting me. So if you have any thrillers that you recommend, please let me know. I am dying to find some more fun, scary books to read. So the next I'm going to go through is some romance books. So I did talk about this in my recent TBR video, but that is the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. This has been circling everywhere. This one at the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, I think is what it's called. This is literally like a Hallmark fall movie in a book. It has a little bit of mystery, a little bit of romance, and I think it is so cute and it just looks so cozy. I love it. But basically there is a woman who owns a bookstore and there's a mystery to it. This man is helping her solve this mystery and there's romance. Sounds so cozy and so fun. So that one is definitely on my radar this fall, and I know I will be picking it up soon. Next is this book. I've seen this book everywhere. It's Witcher and Blackbird. I know this book is really popular. I have not read it yet, but I really want to. It's basically about two serial killers who are like, they start like a competition, and I think that there are serial killers who kill other serial killers, and they kind of turn it into a competition, and I know that there's like romance involved. It sounds kind of fun. It gives me like Scream vibes, you know, like just like that cheesy slasher film. I think that's what this is going to kind of be like. And I know it's like a series, so if I like it, I can pick up the other ones, but I think this will be a really fun read for the fall. Next two are a little bit more cheesy. And that is gonna be, one of them is The Fake Mate. So this book, I think it's so fun, and I think the book is so cute and pretty, but I think he's a werewolf. I think he's a werewolf, and they're like doctors, and I think it's like fake dating. She is trying to I think she's trying to fool her mom or aunt or something, and she fake dates this doctor, and I think he's a werewolf. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I think. The other one is going to be Bried by Ali Hazelwood. I have never read an Ali Hazelwood book yet, and this is the first one that's interested me, and I think it's because it's a little bit more fantasy. I think I've heard that this is about vampires and werewolves, and like the bride is the vampire and then the werewolf is who she's marrying, and I think it's supposed to kind of be like to bring an alliance between the vampires and the werewolves. So yeah, that's all I kind of know about it. It sounds kind of fun. Sounds like it'd be perfect for like October. Okay, the rest of them are fantasy books. Obviously, I am such a sucker for fantasy books. So the first one I have on here is Lady Macbeth. This one just recently came out. It's by Ava Reed, she's the one who wrote A Study in Drowning. This one is a Lady Macbeth retelling, I believe, and this one just sounds really cozy. The lady knows the stories, how her eyes induce madness in men. The lady knows she will be wed to the Scottish brute who does not leave his warrior ways behind when he comes to the marriage bed. The lady knows his hostile, suspicious court will be a game of strategy requiring all of her wiles and hidden witchcraft to survive. But the lady does not know her husband has occult secrets of his own. She does not know that prophecy girds him like armor. She does not know that her magic is greater and more dangerous, and that is will threaten the order of the world. She does not know this yet, but she will. Sounds fun, sounds eerie, sounds like it'll be a perfect fall book. And I also think that it is also, again, really, really pretty. I love it is like neon pink. That is like my favorite. Anyway, sounds really good. Next is another book I have just recently bought, and that is Immortal Dark. I've been seeing this one everywhere. It's kind of like dark academia, Harry Potter vibes, and it has vampires. That's all I know, and that's all I need to know. I'm so ready for this book. And then I really want to get into more cozy fantasies for the fall. I think that they're fun, and I did talk about this a little bit in my TBR video, but I really want to get into Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies and Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. These just both look so cozy and cute. I really think that they are a lot of fun. A lot of people really like these books. I hope I like them because I'm very much a high stakes fantasy. I love high stakes, but these are obviously non-high stakes. They're very cozy. It's basically about a professor, like a Cambridge professor, Emily Wilde, and she is basically on an adventure to learn more about the things in the land, like fairies, fae, whatever else, and she's writing an encyclopedia on them so that people can know more about them. It reminds me a lot of Spiderwick Chronicles, which I loved growing up, so I think that this will be really fun to read for the fall. Masters of Death. This is another one I really want to get into this fall. I've had this one on my TBR for a long time now. And this is basically about, I think, a vampire real estate agent, and she's trying, he or she, I don't remember who it was, is trying to sell a house that is haunted. Sounds really fun. I can't even imagine what the story is gonna go. I've never read anything by Olivia Blake before. I know she's also been really popular, and she has a couple other really popular books like Atlas 6, One for My Enemy. So I think this is a really fun book, and then I have other books to read if I really like her writing. Okay, the last book I want to talk about that I really want to read is, again, a book I've never heard about from anyone else, but it sounds like it would be really fun to read this fall, and that is The Temptation of Magic. Again, this sounds like a little bit of like dark academia. I'll read you the synopsis because I, again, haven't heard much about this book. I don't know how else to describe it to you, but this is what it says. An Imperial, Nicole, has the ability to kill any deadly supernatural. But if her power ever awakened, the WAG, the organization that governs supernaturals, would force her to be their loyal huntress, or kill her like they did her mother. To stay safe, Nicole hides in a small university town, convinced the mythological art collection at a local manor contains a final message from her mother. But before she can study it, Kyan McCarter, the WIG's most skilled Imperial, arrives on his own hunt. When Nicole and Kieran discover that Kyan's prey has stolen a painting of Loveridge, they're forced to work together. So again, this one sounds a lot like Heartless Hunter, where it's kind of like the hunter, you know, and then her, and she has the magic, and they're kind of forced to work together, but again, they're also probably enemies. So it sounds really good. I love the like art and university aspect of it. That is it for the video today. It is a long one. Let me know if you stick around. Let me know some of your fall recommendations, or if you've read any of these. I think they're so much fun. This is my favorite time to read this sheet of the year, and the Eerie Dark books are my favorite kind of books to read. So any recommendations you have, please let me know. Let me know what else you want to see this year. I'm trying to come up with some more video ideas. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, all those things. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.